How we doing there, boys and girls, and welcome back to episode 2 of the Dyson Sphere program. Now, we left it with this little smelting array on the go, and we left it with a bit of power problems, but as it stands right now, we need to start expanding. Now, what I have done between episodes is I've crushed through a few of the initial researches. I've not gone too far. I've literally just completed any research that just requires you to handcraft a few components, and have got us up to the point where the only technologies we can unlock now are these ones that start using these electromagnetic matrices. Now, before we get too deep into the tech tree and too deep into making these science blocks, what we are going to need to do is make our lives a little bit easier. And how do we do that? Well, we make sure that most of the default stuff that we need to run our factory and to build our factory is being automated. Yes, that's the name of the game. We want to be doing as little as possible in terms of handcrafting, and we want to make sure that we're automating as much as possible. So let's take a quick look at some of the items that we already know how to use, and they're split naturally into two sections, into components and into buildings. Now, components are things that we're going to need many multiples of, and we're going to need to make sure that those are available to us. But then the buildings, things like your transport belts, your sorters and your assembly machines, are going to be the fundamental buildings we're going to be using all the time. So the cool thing about the beginning of this game is there's almost a list of ingredients that we can use. There's 5 ingredients that we can use to make virtually any of these early game buildings. There's actually a list of 10 things that you're going to want to automate initially. You're going to want to get transport belt automated along with sorters. There's electric motors, which I've added to my list, which if you've ever watched any other YouTubers' Let's Plays of this, it's not something that they tend to add into their list. But the electric motors is something that I think is really worthwhile crafting in an automated fashion initially, because this goes into a couple of cool things, and more importantly, this is used in great quantities when we start speeding up our sorters. When we want the sorters to stop being really slow and we want to move up a little bit to Mark II sorters, we're going to need those electric engines. So having them automated now is going to be really helpful, I think. Along with electric motors, we're going to need obviously the assembly machines to be automated. We don't want to be crafting these by hand every time. And then some of the power things, we've got the Tesla towers and the wind turbines. We want to get both of those up and running. Mining machines, when we're making our outposts. Now, we don't need to get these automated too heavily because for the most part we've tapped the resources that we're going to need. But this is more so for when we do our expansion, that we can then have just some mining machines to hand when needed. Smelters, you're going to need smelters all the time. You're going to find that when you make a new little factory section, that all of a sudden you're going to realise that, oh, I need to smelt something. So having these on hand is going to be crucial. Storage chests are always really handy to dot around for the purpose of allowing you to run past and pick stuff up. So we're going to want to get those made, and we're also going to want thermal power stations. Now, this isn't something that I've been able to unlock just yet, but at the moment you can see our wind turbines are whirring away. They're producing some power, but realistically the wind turbines are going to be, we're going to extend past these wind turbines very quickly. We're going to unlock a piece of technology called thermal power stations relatively quickly. You can see it here. It's one of the first things that we're going to choose to unlock with these electromagnetic matrices once we've got things up and running. But these things are going to be crucial to us. This then is going to mean that we can use all of that coal that's kicking about, which for the moment in time we're not really using to do anything with. It's just sat there. We have set it up so that we can mine some of it, but it's going to be more beneficial to us making some power. So that's what we're going to do. So let's look at the first things that we're going to need to make next. We've got some stone, we've got some iron plate, and we've got some copper plate. Everything is hunky-dory in that regard. So let's start making some of these intermediate components so that we can start automating those buildings. Gears is the first one on the list. Gears is one that's really very simple, very easy to do, because it simply just requires iron. So this is dead simple. We've got our run of iron in here, so let's slap down a factory. Let's give ourselves a little bit of breathing room, because the likelihood is we're going to need to run some belts here, there and everywhere. Let's run a belt over to this one. There's our belt. Let's set the recipe to be gears. We're going to need a assembler going into it. Now we need to decide what we're going to do. We're going to need to put these on a belt. Now the decision I need to make is, do I put them on a belt this side or do I put them on a belt this side? Now I think we're probably going to want to put them on a belt this side. You know me though, the likelihood is I'll change my mind on that one before too long. But, so there we've got some gears on the go. We need to give it power, but sure, we'll power everything up once we've got things made. So gears are one of the items that we need in the middle. We need some circuit boards as well. Circuit boards, we can see circuit boards here. These require both iron and copper. Now conveniently we've got iron running along here, and we've got copper running along here. So this is kind of why we left ourselves a little bit of space so that we can slap another building in there, and instead of having that as gear wheels, we can change that to circuit boards. Circuit boards are going to take some of their material. It's going to take the iron it needs. Let's run our transport belt over for copper. Why is this colliding with another object? That's not how it's meant to be. You can pick up some copper like such, and then what we're probably going to do, the easiest outcome, this is why I think it was more sensible to put the gear wheels out this way. We can then use this inner belt to bring the circuit boards out this way. The third component we're going to need to make on a somewhat regular basis is going to be magnetic coils. This one here, magnetic coils, are going to be very, very helpful to us. Now these firstly require magnets. Now we've not made magnets as of yet. Magnets are going to come from iron ore, and they are smelted. Interesting. We've got iron ore up here, so we're going to have to do a little bit of a workaround maybe for the iron ore to get this where we need it to be. We're going to need a couple of smelters, and we're going to need the ability, we're going to probably want to bring the smelters down here. The copper is here right now. We've got to get somewhere close to that iron as well. That's one thing I hadn't considered. Maybe we need to shift this over a little bit. Maybe we should be making this one first. I want to try and make this somewhat neat and tidy if I can. It's already looking a bit spaghetti-y. Okay then, boys and girls, so after a little bit of a deliberation and a little bit of trial and error, I settled on this design. Now this is probably not as clean and as perfect as it possibly could be, nor is it in any way, shape, balanced or ratioed or anything like that. What it is simply doing is it's making 3 of the intermediate items that we're going to need. It's making these magnetic coils, it's making these circuit boards, and it's making these gear wheels, and it's putting those onto their own individual belts. Not only is it doing that, it's also feeding through the iron, because we're going to need that in large quantities, and we're also going to need some stone bricks here and there as well for the production of the 10 items that we talked about earlier. So now we've got the sort of intermediate items out of the way, I'll give you a quick little walkthrough of the whole lot, so should you wish to copy it, you can do. Now like I said, it's not quite as clean and as tidy as it possibly could be. In fact, this one being one across is going to annoy me. So let's move that one across there. This is going to take the, what is it doing, is it's taking the iron from over here and it's outputting the gear wheels on there. There we go. That's now a little bit neater, a little bit tidier. In theory, we could expand this a little bit if we wanted to, but these amount of buildings should be more than suffice to make these first initial ones that we're after. Now, like I said, the key thing here is we're not after super high speed, we're just after consistency. This amount of smelting will cover the cost of all of this tenfold, no problems there whatsoever. So let's get down to placing some of the buildings that we need and getting these originally set up. So the very first thing we want in our queue, the item that we're going to need the most of consistently, is going to be conveyor belts. Yes, let's get that one in there first and foremost. Next to conveyor belts, we are going to want, I did actually make a little list and I put it in order earlier. We're going to want sorters. These are going to be the next ones we want to have in place. Mark 1 sorters. Thirdly, we will run our transport belts along and we'll hook all these up in a minute. But thirdly, we are going to want, we actually want electric motors to be next. Now, we don't actually have that learnt right now. So for the moment, we will just keep that one empty. The fourth one is going to be the assembly machines themselves. Assembly machines Mark 1. The fifth one we are going to place down. Now, the good thing about all of these machines, boys and girls, is they only use these 5 materials. Yes, this is wonderful. Not only do they only use these 5 materials, what we've also, if you follow this exact order, there's kind of a reason why I've done them in this exact order, but that won't be apparent for another 10 episodes yet when we go into expansion mode. But this is good for now. So, assembly machines followed by Tesla towers, followed by wind turbines. Wind turbines are going to be super useful to us. Wind turbines are then shortly followed by mining machines. Let's select mining machines. Mining machines are going to be then followed by smelters. We're going to go through so many of these smelters, it's not even funny. Smelters are then going to be followed by storage chests, and look at this for almost perfect spacing. Storage chest, we almost ended in the sea, but not quite. Storage chests are then going to be followed by, finally, thermal power stations. Now, this is another item that we've not technically unlocked as of yet, but we'll leave the factory there as and ready. So, we need to run some transport belts across, and I've also just realised I do not have anywhere near enough transport belts. So I'm going to go craft up some of those transport belts. I'm going to lay the transport belts down, and I'll be back with you in 2 minutes. Okay then, so the transport belts are almost in. It's time to put some inserters down and get some of this set up so that we can store some of these items. You will, if you stagger it so that you have 3 items on one side of the bus and or the machine, and then 2 items on the other, it means that you can put the storage chest 2 across here, because an inserter only has the ability to transfer a maximum of 3. So if we put the storage chest on this side, the inserters wouldn't be able to reach it. So the inserters are going to have to go this side, but transport belt is a relatively simple and easy one. This just needs iron ingots and iron gears. So let's get those up and running. Logistics. Gear wheels in from this side, iron bars in from this side, and then it can output to the chest, which we've somehow managed to not put in the middle. Let's put the chest back down. Let's try and make it at least central. There we go. We're going to need to run a load of these in. What we're going to want to do then is, like we did back here, we did with our smelting in the last episode, we limited the amount of space that can be assigned by the items. We're going to want to do the same thing with this. We're going to want to set these manually up. Initially, it's probably sensible just to only store a single stack of them, and if you start to find that you need more of these items on a regular basis, you can expand them out. But if we have just 1 stack as the default size for now, we'll be in good stead to be able to get on to getting some science done. Yes, boys and girls. So let's place some of these down to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Lack of items, of course. How did I manage to make only 9 of those? I always end up with just 1 short. Well, I'm still crafting a bunch of inserters, so let's hang fire on those for a minute. Let's get the rest of these hooked up. Sorters. Now, one thing I can't remember if we've talked about with sorters is the fact that they're considerably slower the further they go. This now, when you're making builds to a certain speed, then this is going to be an issue, but at this point in time it's not the greatest of concern. But if there's an item that it needs more of, these are balanced. These only need 1 iron and one iron and 1 circuit board to make a single one, so there's not too much of a demand there. But for example, you can see this sorter is going across 2 rows, and it means it can only do 0.75 trips a second, whereas if we look at a sorter that's only going to the next row, it can, if we select the sorter, you can see it can do 1.5 trips a second, and they're much faster over this shorter distance. power we're going to need as well. Power we're going to have to distribute. We'll probably be able to put some power down between some of the storage chests. We should be able to hopefully get these to cover. If we do one every sort of third box, it should cover everything. And then one at the end there. Lovely stuff. Oh, we're hellishly out of fuel. Our little robot is struggling to keep up with us. Not a problem. We'll recharge in a minute. Let's get placing down some inserters. This one we know is going to be for the electric motor. Now we haven't actually researched the electric motor yet, but we can see the electric motor here requires iron, gears and electromagnets. Iron, gears and electromagnets. And then we're going to want to output that into the box. We didn't output our splitters into the box. Or we always forget the splitters. Don't forget to limit the boxes though, otherwise you're going to end up with millions of the things. Same with these. Don't forget to limit all the boxes. I wish there was a quick and easy way to automatically limit the boxes, but there's not. This hooking it all up, boys and girls, is pretty straightforward. You just got to, connect the inserters to the line. So I'm going to speed through and get this little section finished, and then we can start cracking on with some research. Okay then, boys and girls, well there it is. There's our first initial little production factory up and running. We've managed to get some intermediate components done. We've managed to get a whole bunch of buildings on the go. And you can already see our storage boxes are starting to fill up. We've already got 46 assembly machines up and running. This now basically gives us so much more flexibility. We can run along here virtually whenever we need, pick up a whole bunch of these items, and that really frees us up to be spending our time doing the actual crafting that we should enjoy, progressing the factory forward. This is now what we can consider fully automated. This is cool, but of course what we need to do now is look at research. Research is the crucial thing. We could in theory be doing this by hand, but of course we don't want to. But let's look at the electromagnetic matrix. Where is it? Here it is. Now, the smart ones of you will have noticed that we've actually already made the components that we need for this. The electromagnetic coils and the circuits we already produced. They're already on a belt. They're already ready, which is perfect for us. They're already on this bus. So what we can do is the two that are needed are these two on the end here. We can just run these off to the side, and this will be the foundation of the start of our science. Now, as it stands right now, we don't need to be cranking through science like crazy. We just need it up and running so that we can start working on other things. So let's get our science lab. Let's place the science lab down and let's work out how these things really operate.
Matrix Lab. You can use it to make super matrices or research technologies that require them to unlock. The super matrices are the source code of the center brain for maintaining the homeworld. You can upload as many super matrices to the center brain as possible. You can be benefit to unlock more actual world technologies by operating the homeworld simultaneously.
Now, due to some slightly wonky translations from Chinese to English, that doesn't necessarily make a lot of sense to a whole bunch of us. But in essence, what we do with these is when you select the Matrix Lab, you have two options. You can either tell it to produce the science packs that you're after, or you can tell it to do the research using those science packs. So what we're going to do in this situation is going to say, right, well, we need to make those firstly. Now, the astute of you will notice that it actually takes 3 seconds to produce just a single science pack, which is really not that great. But look what we can do. We can stack them. Yes, yes we can. Now if I was smart enough to have made a third one, which I wasn't because, you know, I always forget to do these things. Oh boy, we're not making up. We're not doing that. No, 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 no. We need to go get ourselves some iron very quickly. Once again, guess what happens when you run out of raw materials? You run to a box, you pick some up. Easy stuff. Right, let's just make one to begin with, just so we can get one up and running, and then we can make 3 more. Make a few circuit boards initially. Ironic you need circuit boards to make them, but sure. And then we can set those to start crafting some more. So now we can actually craft 3 on top of each other. And what happens is if we input science to the bottom of these, once the bottom one has got enough of the components that it needs, it will send them upstairs. So, and it will continue doing that as far as it can go. So let's put in some inserters. 1 inserter here. And I'm going to put 2 inserters at this side, because as we've already worked out, when the inserters are close, they can work really fast. But if they've got to take items from further afield, it makes more sense to double them up so that they basically equal out the speed, which is nice. So with this in place now, let's give it some power, and let's see what happens. Oh, we're going to have to assign it to actually produce. If you assign one of them to produce, anything that's on top of it, anything that's stacked up is automatically going to do the exact same thing. So this one is going to start producing these science packs. Off it goes, off it goes, off it goes. But you'll see that it's slowly stacking up these materials, so it's got some spares ready. Once it's got, I think 20 is the limit that it can hold. Once it's got 20, it will pass them upstairs. And then the next one on top of it will continue to do the same. And this will daisy chain up as far as it can go. Now, of course, at the moment, we're somewhat restricted to the amount of resources that are coming through here, mainly because the second that these items are being made, they're being stolen by this. This is getting preference right now. That's not too much of an issue because this lot will back up eventually. Once the boxes of these are full, all of these factories will be making the materials and sending them down this way. But having the science matrices made is still not good enough. We need to then do something with them, and this is where the best thing to do is put another set right next to it, and then set the recipe of this one to actually research. And what we can do is we can run some inserters from the first one into the next one, and hey presto, it's up and running. Soon as any one of these is finished making a science pack, it will send it into this matrix lab here, and as you can see now, our research is up and running. Lovely stuff. Off it goes, and we can stack those to 3 as well if we wanted to. Now not only do we have some smelting going on, making the core products, we have some of the intermediate items with a little bit of space. We've not left ourselves a lot of space, in fairness, but with enough space that we could increase the supply of this if possible, if needed. I can already kind of tell that we're slightly limited on the, what do you call them, the magnetic coils. They don't, in fact, for some reason, they don't seem to be coming out. Why are the magnetic coils not coming out? Magnetic coils are not coming out because no iron ore's coming through. Why is no iron ore coming through? Ah, because we stole a bunch of iron. Okay, so it's waiting for this to back up. Once this is backed up, some spare iron will come through, and it will all work. That's the cool thing. It's automated, and it will just work, giving us the ability to go off, do other things, play the rest of the game, whilst this is working in the background. Lovely stuff. Lovely stuff. With our research up and running, we can start our focus, or turn our focus, should I say, to other things. The next thing we're going to really notice is when all these machines start turning on and all these research labs start kicking into high gear, our power is going to be completely broken. If it wasn't already broken at the beginning of this episode, it's going to be absolutely busted by the time this all starts up and running. So for the first thing we're going to need to do in the next episode is going to fix our power system. We're going to fix our power system so that it runs primarily off the coal. The coal, if our little robot could move a little bit faster, maybe I'll use map view for this. Our coal section we've already tapped into. We've got this coal being stored already. We're going to use this coal. We're going to make ourselves a little factory, maybe a little power station somewhere in the near vicinity so that we can hook it in easily. We'll make a little power factory here, get that up and running, and then once we've got that all in place and we've got enough power to run everything, we can start really ramping up the production of this science. If you look at the talent tree, or the technology tree should I say, we start needing loads of this blue science, so it's going to be worthwhile, although we're making it in small quantities right now, and that's good to get us up and running. We're going to really want to start cranking this, and not only are we going to start burning through some of these researches, we want to start heading towards this one. This is the energy matrix. This is the next science. You want to always be moving forward. So even unlocking this one is going to take 200 of these science matrices, so we are going to need a dedicated science build for these, which is what we'll work on next time. But I'll leave it there for this episode, boys and girls. I hope you enjoyed. If you are finding these little video series helpful, or at the very least entertaining, please remember to give the video a like. It helps the channel grow tremendously. If you're new around here, because of course I imagine there is a fair amount of new viewers to the channel at the moment, because primarily I deal with World of Warcraft, but we're taking a little bit of a hiatus from World of Warcraft for a while to play some other games. Dyson Spear Factory being the main one at the moment. If you are new around here and you're enjoying the content, please consider hitting that subscribe button. If you tick the little notification bell, you'll get information from YouTube directly as and when new videos are released, or equally we go live. We do actually live stream our progress of these factories in the making over, well, Monday through till Friday right here on this channel, so make sure you stick around for that. But then, boys and girls, I hope you enjoyed. I will catch you next time. Peace.